Hey everybody, Mr. Mars here. We're going to be talking about centroids today. Now, as we get ready to talk about centroids and medians, there's a couple things that we need to know. First of all, we can't have a centroid without having medians, and we can't have medians without having a midpoint. So if you look at your definitions up here, you've got centroid, which is the point of concurrency, which is right here, of the triangle's medians. Now, you may have heard medians before. Back when you were in middle school, you may have heard mean, median, and mode, right? And that was the median that was talking about the middle of a set of data, like in a bunch of numbers, we were talking about the spot in the middle. This median is different. The median that we're going to talk about up here is a segment. The endpoints are the vertex and the midpoint of the opposite side. Okay, so the vertex and the midpoint of the opposite side are what we're talking about. So we've got to find both of those, all right? When we do that, we have three lines that are called our medians, and they're going to have what's called a point of congruency. Now we're going to talk about all of this more in just a second. So let's be our point of congruency. That is where they intersect each other, right here. Okay, so they're across each other. So let's look at an actual triangle here. So we got our triangle. We'll talk about this in just a minute. The centroid theorem we'll talk about in just a minute. We're not going to worry about that yet. We'll talk about it in just a minute, okay? Over here, if you look, X right here is a midpoint. We know that because this side and this side are equal to each other. So that means X is a midpoint, okay? Y is also a midpoint because you got these two sections right here. CY and YA are equal to each other. The two little ticks tell us that, okay? And then Z is also a midpoint right here because you got your three ticks right here. AZ is congruent to ZB, right? So we know those 3 points, X, Y, and Z, are midpoints. Now, if we connect those midpoints to a vertex on the other side, we get what's called a median, right? So CZ right here, that is a median because it connects the vertex to the midpoint on the other side, okay? So if you need to pause, you can pause the video for a second here. I want you to try and find the other two medians, okay? CZ is 1. I'll pause. Excellent. So now that you're back, here are your other two medians. BY is also a median because it goes from the vertex to the midpoint, okay? And AX is also a median because it goes from a vertex to a midpoint. So those 3 are our medians, okay? And again, that's because they go from vertex to midpoint, okay? This point right here, point P right there, okay, that's point P. That is where those 3 medians cross each other. Now it has a special name, okay, it's kind of a fancy name. We talked about it just a second ago. If I scroll this back up, you'll see that is the point of concurrency. Now that's a fancy math word that just means this is where they cross each other. This is where the lines all cross, okay? So that's called the point of concurrency. This can happen with any lines. Any 3 lines or more that cross each other all at the same spot, that's called the point of concurrency, okay? We're not going to deal with that a bunch, but if it shows up on a test, you'll know that's where the lines all cross each other. Because these are medians, right? You got medians crossing each other. That makes that point called a centroid, right? So this is called the centroid because that's where all the points intersect of the medians. So my 3 medians cross right there. That is our centroid, okay? Now, the centroid theorem is right here. And it states the centroid of a triangle, that's point P on our triangle, the centroid of a triangle is located 2/3 of the distance from each vertex to the midpoint, to the opposite side. So that's saying if I was going from A to X right there, that's my median. A to P is 2/3 of that distance, okay? Which means if the whole thing is 3/3, right? Because the one whole is 3/3. If this is 2/3, that means this part down here has to be 1/3. And this happens on all 3 of the medians, okay, that we have. So vertex to the median, to the centroid, 2/3. Centroid out to the median, 1/3. And same thing on the one I started with, the original, okay? This one is 2/3 from the vertex to the centroid, and 1/3 from the centroid to the median. Now, I know you're probably thinking, Mr. Mars, oh, fractions, come on, why we gotta deal with fractions? We don't really deal with fractions that much. We're talking about the centroid. I know it sounds like because you got 1/3, you got 2/3. I said 3/3. So we're talking about a lot about fractions. But let's put some numbers to it. Okay. So you've got yours up there. I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to put a value up here, right? And I'm going to tell you that I have. I'll use a different color. We'll use black on this one. Okay. I'm going to tell you that. CZ, line segment CZ, that's this one right here, CZ right there, that's our median. I'm going to tell you that it is equal to 30, okay? It's equal to 30. Now, just so you know, your notes that Ms. Lil has posted on the Google Classroom, that might be slightly different than these, all right? But same thing, okay? So CZ is 30, right? That means I'm going to take 1/3 of that because I got to break it up into threes. And the way we do 1/3 of something is we divide by 3. So if you want to find 1/3 of something, you divide by 3. Okay? So I'm going to take 30 and I'm going to divide it by 3 and I get 10. Okay? Here's what that means. On CZ right here, this long section right here, the part that's 1/3 right here, PZ is 10. So PZ would equal 10. Now, if PZ, which is 1/3, is 10, then PC, which is 2/3, is going to be double that. It's going to be 20. So if you look, the whole distance, 30, took the whole thing, I divided by 3 to get the short part, and then I doubled that to get the long part. Okay? So let's try another one, right? So I'm going to erase this for right now. You've got all that up there, but I'm going to erase for right now because I'm going to go back over this. Okay. So if I have up here, and I have that AX is equal to 15. That's this one right here. AX right there is 15. That's that median right there. Okay. Remember the short side, the short section, PX, is 1/3. AP, 2/3. So the short part's 1/3, long part's 2/3. So I'm going to take 15 since it's the whole distance, and I'm going to divide it by 3. That gives me 5. That 5 is equal to the 1/3 section. Okay? That 1/3 section is right here. That's the small section. It's 5. The big section is double that. That was 10. Now earlier in the last one we did CZ. CZ was 30. Remember, this one was 10, and this one was 20. If you look, you might notice something. The small section is half of the big section, or the big section is double the small section. Okay? So if I came and I told you, hey, PB right here is I'll make it 16. If I made PB 16, and that's the long section, then the small section would be half of that. So I go 16 divided by 2 is 8. That's going to be 8. And if I wanted the whole length, BY, I would take the 8 plus the 16, and I would get 24. Okay? So again, small section, half of the big section. Big section, double the small section. If you put them together, you get the whole median. Okay? So we're gonna practice that. So let's come down here. Oops. Okay. Since you've got midpoint, midpoint, midpoint connected by these lines right here, those are my medians, right? They cross, their point of concurrency, that's that fancy word where they all cross each other, is point K. So point K is our centroid, okay? That's our centroid, which means we've got small section KF, big section KD, small section GK, big section KC, small section HK, big section KE. right? And remember, small is half of big, or big is double the small section. So the first one over here says, hey, if dk is 10, so come over and mark that. If dk right here is 10. Now I need to put a little disclaimer here, just so you guys know. Just because dk is 10 in this question does not mean it's going to be 10 throughout the whole thing, right? They change these around, just so you know. So I'm going to erase after each one, okay? So that you can see it, right? So dk is 10. Here's what I know. If dk is the big section, 10, then that means kf is equal to half of dk. So kf is equal to half of 10. Kf is equal to 5. Okay, so we now know kf is 5. What did they want? Find kf. Kf is equal to 5. Okay, I actually should have, see if I can get, oh no, don't want to do that. There we go. I'm going to take that and move it up here so we save ourselves some room. Okay, next one, and I'll write a little smaller so we can all stand there. So I'm going to go ahead and erase these guys now because we're not dealing with that anymore, right? We're still talking about the same picture, so that has not changed. I'm just going to go to the next set of information. My next set of information says HC is equal to 14. So HC is this part right here. That's equal to 14. You will notice this is still our midpoint. You notice the two little markings right there? So if that is 14, if HC is 14, then HD is also 14, right? And so if I take HD plus HC, it gives me DC, and that's what we're looking for. That's the big side, DC, or the two small ones put together. So I'm just going to go 14 plus 14 is 28. So my value is 28. I forgot to circle that one up there. Okay? All right, I'm going to erase over here again so we can start with a clean slate. Go to the next one. My next one says, if GC equals 18, find CK. So GC, that's the whole length right there. That's the whole median. Okay? We've got GC equals 18, right? So if GC equals 18, remember the small section, GK, is equal to 1/3 of GC. So GK is equal to 1/3 of 18. How do we get 1/3 of something? We divide it by 3. So take 18 divided by 3, that gives me 6. So we know GK is 6, okay? They didn't want GK, they wanted CK, right? This is what we're looking for. Well, remember CK is double GK. So CK equals 2 times 6, which would be 12. And CK would be 12. Had they asked us for GC, our answer would have been 18. We would have done 6 plus 12, and that would have given us the 18. But they didn't ask us for that, okay? All right, I'm going to slide this up. We're going to run into a little bit of a problem here in just a second because we're going to be not going to be able to see the triangle. So I'll be sliding back and forth just so you guys know. Okay, so be prepared. So move this up a little bit here so we can still know that's D up there. Okay, my next one, we got our clear picture over there. It says if HK is 3, right? I'm going to skip a couple here minutes for the length of the video. So HK right here is 3. Remember, that is our small section. So to get our big section here, we're going to go 2 times that. And that's going to give me 6. And they want to know what is the value of HE. So we're going to go 3 plus 6 is 9. So you can see, if you are given the small section, double it to get the big section. Add those together, gives you the whole median. If they give you the big section, cut it in half. That gives you the small section. Add those together, it gives you the whole median. And if they give you the whole median, like they did up in the first one, divided by 3, or like they did on this one, divided by 3, that gives you the small one. Then you can double it to get the big one if you need to. Okay? So same thing over and over again until we come across something like number 7. Okay? Number 7 and number 8. So I'm going to do number 8. Now, I'm going to write the stuff up here because I'm going to slide down real quick, make sure I got the right thing. KF and KD, there we go. So on number 8, it tells you, because I'll do number 8 over here like this. It tells you that KF is 5x minus 1. and it tells you that KD up here is 9x minus 1, okay? Now, nothing has changed, right? We haven't changed the rules or anything like that. The small section is still half of the big section, or it takes two of the small ones to equal a big one. So I can write it like this. It takes 2 KFs to equal DK, right? So it takes two of these small ones to equal the big one. This will work every single time. So now all I gotta do is replace these, substitute these in. So that gives me 2 5x minus 1s equals a 9x minus 1, okay? Slide this up a little bit so I reach. Distributive property, don't forget your distributive property rule. So I'm gonna multiply 2 times 5x is 10x, and 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. That equals 9x minus 1, okay? Get the variable on one side, so we're gonna subtract the 9x over here. Subtract the 9x over here, that gives me x minus 2 equals negative 1. We add 2 to both sides, and I get x equals 1. Now that's not what they asked for in the question. If you look down on the question, they want to know what is the entire length of DF. So I need to plug the 1 back into here. So I'm going to go 9 times 1 minus 1, well that's 9 minus 1. This is 8 for that section. And this one is going to be 5 times 1 minus 1, that's 5 minus 1. This one is 4. So you've got 8 here and 4 here. So that gives you a grand total of DF equaling 12. And that is our final total, okay? So we didn't change anything, right? We're still going small section is half the big section, or double the small section gives you the big section, right? And we're just plugging in the values that they gave us, right? So part of your homework tonight, I'm gonna do this a little differently maybe. I'm gonna go on over to page number 3, because on your homework tonight, you're doing numbers 1, 3, 4, 6, and 8, okay? So you're doing this one, this one, this one, this one, and I'll get to number 8 in a minute, okay? If you stick around at the end of the video, watch the whole video, it's like that, I will come back and do one of these for you. Hint, hint, wink, okay? So let's go back here to number 2, because number 2, we're gonna talk about how do we find the centroid, okay? Now I'm gonna go off screen for just a second. I'm gonna tell you, you are gonna wanna use a ruler, okay? A ruler makes all the difference in the world, so make sure you have a straight edge or a ruler to do this, okay? Now, here's how it's gonna work. All right, the steps are up there above. I'm gonna move this down. I know the steps, so we're just gonna watch as we go, okay? We need to do 2 medians, right? Now, I'm gonna go ahead and do 3. Miss Lil can tell you if she wants you to do 2 or not. I'm gonna do 3. In order to do a median, we have to have a midpoint, okay? So that means we need to use our midpoint formula. So if you forgot it, we're gonna write it down right up here. It goes x1 plus x2 divided by 2, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So we're gonna take the 2x values, we're gonna add those together, we're gonna divide by 2. We're gonna take the 2 y values, we're gonna add those together, and we're gonna divide by 2. Okay, so we're gonna do 2 of these, right? We're gonna do these 2 together, and then we'll look at one on the practice page on the next page as well, okay? Or we'll look at the ones on the homework page. So ready? So we're gonna do this one first. We need to find the midpoint of either RS, ST, or RT. It doesn't matter which one you choose. It really doesn't matter. So I'm gonna do RS first. So I'm gonna go RS. Now, I'm gonna plug in my formula. I need the X from R, right? This is my X, this is my Y, this is my X, this is my Y. So I'm gonna go -1 plus 9, those are my 2 X's divided by 2. I'm gonna go 7 plus 5, those are my 2 Y's added together divided by 2. When I do that, -1 and +9 gives you a +8, still has to be divided by 2. And 7 plus 5 is 12, and that has to be divided by 2. 8 divided by 2 gives you 4, and 12 divided by 2 gives you 6. So this is my midpoint of RS. So I go to RS, I go to the midpoint 4, 6. I go right 4, I go up 6, that is right there. Okay, that's where 4, 6 is. Now, this is where you grab your ruler. Now, I don't have a ruler that I can put on the board, but I have a thing that makes straight lines, so that's what we're gonna do. you're gonna make a straight line using your ruler, okay? I'm gonna go from the vertex, which is T, and I'm gonna drag and do my ruler so it crosses right there at that point right there. That is my median from T to the midpoint of RS, okay? So I drew my first median. Now we're gonna do the next one. Doesn't matter if you do RT or ST, does not matter. So I'm gonna go ahead and do RT. Oops, I'll do this in red so it's different color. RT, okay? So RT means I'm gonna do the points from R and T. So R, this is my X, remember this goes X and Y. So I'm gonna go X is -1, plus the X over here is 1 over 2. My Y is 7, plus my Y over here is -3 over 2. -1 and +1 gives you 0 over 2, and 7 plus -3 gives you 4 over 2. 0 over 2 gives you 0, and 4 divided by 2 gives you 2. So my midpoint is located at 0, 2, okay? So I'm gonna go to 0, 2, and I'll put my point right there. Now, I'm going to connect again. You're using a straight edge. I'm gonna use my little line tool here, and I'm gonna go from the vertex over here, S, and I'm gonna take it right over here to 0, 2, okay? Now, if you can see where those two cross, that's great. I'm gonna do a third one just to be safe and make sure that they all look okay. Okay, so I'm gonna do my third one here. My third one I'm gonna do is, we'll do in purple. Are going to be, we did RS, we did RT, so this one's gonna be ST, okay? So ST, my X is 9, for the T it's 1, divided by 2. My Y's are 5 and -3, and that's divided by 2. 9 plus 1 is 10, divided by 2. And 5 plus -3 is 2, divided by 2. This gives me 5. Oh, that glitched. Sorry. This gives me 5, 1. So I go to 5, 1, 5, 1, and I put my dot. That is for my midpoint for ST. And then I get my ruler, okay, my straight line, you guys using the ruler. I go from R, I go right over here to T, to the midpoint, okay? I'm gonna straighten that one up just a hair. There we go. Now, you can see that these three lines, all three of these lines, this is where the point of concurrence, right? That fancy word, point of concurrence. This is where all three of them cross each other. That is your centroid. That's where your medians all crossed. So I would put my centroid is located at, that location is at 3, 3. That is the location of my centroid, okay? Now the next one I'm gonna do a little faster, okay? You can pause if you need to. So ready? Here I go. I've got L, M, and N. So I'm gonna go L, M. My X value is -8. My Y value is 4 divided by 2. My Y value is 3. My Y value is 7 divided by 2. Remember it goes X, Y, X, Y, X, Y. So this gives me -8 plus 4 gives me a -4 divided by 2. And this gives me a 10 divided by 2. This gives me -2, 5. So I go left 2, up 5. That puts me right there. And I'm going to draw my straight line from N to there. Both need to come down just a hair. There we go. Okay. Going to do the same thing now with MN. So M, N. M is at 4. N is at 4 divided by 2. The Y values are 7 and -1 divided by 2. This is 8 divided by 2. This is 6 divided by 2. That is 4, 3. So 4, 3, we write 4 up 3 is going to be right there. I'm going to take my line. You're going to take your ruler. I'm going to go from V, get it to click. There we go. And drag that over here. Okay? Good. Move that down just a hair. There we go. Okay, missed my point a little bit. And then my last one I'm going to do is going to be LM, or LN, I'm sorry. LN, so LN, get my X's. my x's are -8 plus 4 divided by 2, and my y's are 3 plus -1 divided by 2. This gives you -4 divided by 2. This gives you 2 divided by 2. That gives you -2, comma, 1. So -2, 1 is right there. And I'm going to connect that with my point, my vertex over here, and I'm going to go through like that, and hit my other point. And you will see again that my point of concurrency, my point of concurrency, where all three meet, is right there. And that location for my centroid is located at 0, 3. That's where all three lines cross. So all you're doing is finding the median, connect it to the vertice. Find the median, connect it to the vertice. Find the median, connect it to the vertice. And then where those lines cross each other, that is your point of concurrency. Okay? This will happen every single time. So, on your homework tonight, on page 3, you're doing 1, 3, 4, 6, and then down here you're doing number 8. Number 8 is exactly like the two that we just did. So if you need to go back and look at those, you can go back and look at those, okay? Now I promised you I would do one for you. And the one I'm going to do for you, if you watch through the whole video, is number 6, okay? I'm gonna do the work up here, okay? Because you'll do your own work, but I'm gonna do you can do it down below. But I don't have enough room. So it tells you that PG right here is 2x plus 20. It tells you that BP right here is 3x plus 14. So what I remember is, and these are all, it tells you that this is the centroid, right? So that's a centroid. So what I remember is, it takes 2 of the small parts to equal the big part. So it takes 2 BPs, these guys, 2 of these guys, to equal the PG, the big guy, right? So 2 small guys equals the big guy, right? So now plug in the value for BP, which is 3x plus 14. My bad, I started with 4. And that equals the big guy, which is 2x plus 20, okay? From here, we're just solving the equation. Distribute. That gives me 6x. Distribute, that gives me 28. That equals 2x plus 20. We're going to subtract the 2x from both sides so I can get my x by itself on one side. That gives me 4x plus 28 equals 20, right? We're going to subtract the 28 to both sides. That gives me 4x equals -8. And then I'm going to divide by 4, and I get x equals -2. Now they didn't want to know what x was, right? They wanted to know what the whole length was. So we're going to substitute the -2 back in. I'm going to do this one first. 3 times -2 plus 14, that's -6 plus 14 is +8. That section right there is 8. Now I don't have to plug the x back in here. I should know already that if the short section is 8, the large section is 16, but we're going to double check just to make sure. So we're going to go 2 times -2 plus 20. Well, that's -4 plus 20 is +16. So this is 16. And I believe the question actually asks, how long is BG? So if we want to find the length of BG, I'm going to take the 8, I'm going to add the 16, and I'm going to get a grand total of 24. Okay? That is number 6. So if you stuck around and watched the whole video, you just got a freebie on the homework. You're going to do the others, 1, 3, and 5. I'm sorry, 1, 3, and 4, and you're also going to do graph number 8. Now, one little side note on number 8. You'll notice there's no triangle. So you need to graph the triangle first. Go to -5, 1. That's where L is. You need to go to -3, 9. That's where M is. You need to go to 5, 5. And that's where N is. So you need to do that first using your straight edge. Then go find your midpoints, connect it to your vertices, and find your centroid. Okay? Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you take good notes and make sure you do your homework. I'll talk to you later. Bye.